This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Mark Martin. A pro-life group says the Super Bowl is not just playing football this Sunday, it's playing politics. The group Faces of Choice says that it negotiated with Fox to air an ad during the big game, but ultimately discovered that the airtime was sold out. At the same time, the Super Bowl is allowing an ad featuring drag queens, and that has some faith leaders crying foul play. Our Heather Sells has been following the fallout and is here now with more. Heather.
Mark, Faces of Choice is a pro-life group that advocates on behalf of survivors of abortion. These are men and women whose mothers tried to abort them in the womb, and their stories are powerful. Faces was hoping to get this 30-second clip to air during Sunday's Super Bowl game.
Will you look me in the eye?
Can you look me in the eye and tell me that I shouldn't be alive?
Can you tell me that I didn't deserve to survive?
Not only did this ad not make the Super Bowl lineup, an ad featuring drag queens did. It's the first time that drag queens will appear in a Super Bowl ad. The commercial promotes a hummus snack product. Conservatives like 1 Million Moms, a group affiliated with the American Family Association, are protesting the ad. 25,000 people have signed their petition asking the NFL and Fox to pull it. And 40,000 people have signed a petition organized by Faces and My Faith Votes asking Fox to block the ad. Well, Dr. James Dobson is also urging those concerned to contact Fox and sign the petition. CBN News reached out to Fox but did not hear back. A Fox spokesperson did tell the Washington Times that it could not accommodate Faces because it sold out at a, quote, record pace this year. And Mark, it is worth noting that in recent years, the Super Bowl has begun to lose viewers. Forbes reports that it peaked in 2015 with 114 million viewers, and last year it averaged just 98 million. Mark.
All right, Heather, thank you for that report. And we're joined now by the founder of Faces of Choice, Lyric Gillette. Lyric, thanks for joining us. Talk about how you tried to place an ad during the Super Bowl.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. And I have to say, it is a really interesting response from Fox that they sold out early, because Faces of Choice, my media buyer and I reached out to Fox on July 29th of 2019. And we began the process of speaking with them, and it went all the way through until November. And on November 18th, we were told to expect an answer very soon. Apparently, one of the sales heads with Fox was very upset about the way things were transpiring and flew from Chicago to New York to try to talk to legal and figure out what was going on. And we were told on the 18th that we should expect an answer very soon, and that it was not a sellout situation. We were told that, those very words, in an email. So Monday rolls around on the 22nd, and we do not hear from anyone as we had been promised. But the evening of the 22nd,
how did you actually find out that Fox was rejecting your ad? What reason did they give you? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
They never gave a single reason. They never said anything about content at all. They simply provided one stipulation after the other, all of which we met. And then they never cleared or rejected the ad. They simply ignored us into oblivion and would not give us a response.
Okay, well, you have 65,000 people protesting this decision through online petitions. What are you hoping for at this point, Lyric?
Well, we have over 100,000 emails that have been sent to Fox. And at this point, we're asking for the dignity of a response. The entire purpose of Faces of Choice is to give a face to people who survived an abortion. And it is not going unnoticed that these individuals had their lives nearly stolen from them and their voices nearly stolen from them. And now, again, Fox is taking their voices from them. So we want the dignity of a response. Of course, we want them to run the ad, but at the very least, they should comment on whether or not they will clear our ad.
And your organization, Faces of Choice, like you said, advocates for survivors of abortion. Tell us more about your group. Like, for example, how many survivors have you connected with, and how do you see their stories contributing to the debate over abortion?
Well, Melissa Oden of the Abortion Survivors Network has been working with survivors for over 8 years. She herself is a survivor, and I know she's been on your show. So I initially reached out to her a few years ago, and I know that her network has over 300 survivors, and it's estimated, a conservative estimate, is that there are over 40,000 survivors of abortion in the United States. And so the idea behind Faces of Choice is that every civil rights movement, every humanitarian movement of our era has had the face of a survivor attached to it. Rosa Parks and MLK MLK for the civil rights movement. You have even Elie Wiesel coming out of Auschwitz and giving face to the inhumanity that was transpiring. So what I'm asking people to do now is look survivors of abortion in the eye. And one of the questions is that in the video is, can you look me in the eye and tell me that I didn't deserve to survive? Because if you say that you are pro-choice, that you support the choice of abortion, then that means that you are not in favor of people surviving. So you're telling people they should be dead. And so that's what I want to do. I want to get rid of the misnomer of choice and help people understand that choice is not merely a word. Choice is a person.
You know, your ad is so powerful, and I can tell by the way you're talking how passionate you are about this. How did you get involved in this, and what led you to do that?
This is just honestly something that God told me a few years ago. I woke up in the middle of the night and understood that the survivors of abortion were going to be what changed this, their voices. And so I wrote the commercial down in the middle of the night. I was still in my college years. And this has just been fundamental growing up. My parents actually fought with Jay Sekulow in the early 90s, late 80s, before I was born, defending those who were praying outside of Planned Parenthood. But it's not simply something that I picked up on from my parents. This is something that is intrinsic to who I am, because if we cannot recognize the truth that we are made in the image of God, that we are image bearers, if we continuously desecrate that image, there's no truth left in culture. There's nothing that's sacred or protected if we do not protect life. And so I remember my mom, right after Roe v. Wade, created something that said pro-life, the real choice for woman and child. And that is the truth. Choice is a person. Choice has a face. Choice has a name. And one of our survivors in our videos said, I want you to see what someone who is aborted grows up to be. And so that's what we're trying to do. Choice has a face, choice has a name, choice is a person. And we're inviting everyone to sign the petition, to go to our YouTube channel. In fact, if you're upset with the Super Bowl has done, then during the Super Bowl, shut off the commercials and instead go to our Faces of Choice YouTube channel and watch the incredible stories of survival that we have from all of these survivors of abortion.
All right, Lyric Gillette with Faces of Choice. Thank you so much. Thanks for your passion for this issue and for standing for life. Blessings to you.
Your time. God bless.
The impeachment trial of President Donald Trump could end this weekend. It's looking like Republicans have the votes to shut down the attempt by Democrats to call witnesses. The Democrats needed 4 Republican votes. One of the ones they were hoping for, Tennessee's Lamar Alexander, who you see there, announced last night that he's heard enough and will vote against calling witnesses. If that vote fails, the body will move to acquit or convict President Trump, with an acquittal expected. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo met with Ukrainian President Zelensky today, saying the U.S. remains committed to supporting Ukraine's fight against Russia. CBN News is providing special coverage of the impeachment saga. We're carrying the Senate impeachment trial of President Trump live every day on the CBN News Channel. Thousands of cruise ship passengers who were kept on board during a coronavirus scare are now free to go. Authorities have confirmed the 54-year-old Chinese woman tested negative for the virus. More than 6,000 people and 1,000 crew members had to spend an extra night on the ship due to the scare. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization has officially declared the virus a public health emergency. This as Italy and the United Kingdom both now have confirmed cases.
And on that basis, we were planning, and that was the reason why I and the other chief medical officers raised the risk level yesterday from low to moderate in conjunction with the WHO statement. This is not planning because we're worried about individual cases. It is because we're worried that if the Chinese authorities, who are making huge efforts, cannot get on top of this in the next few weeks, we may get to a situation where this begins to spread around the world in a quite major way.
So far, 213 people in China have died from the virus. It has been a busy week for Israel, from peace plans to technological advances providing clean water and a strong defense for the Jewish state. Emily Jones brings us the latest wrap-up from Jerusalem.
Welcome to Jerusalem for this Inside Israel report, where we tell you what's happening in Israel and the Middle East. Well, President Donald Trump's Israeli-Palestinian peace plan is officially here, and it came with mixed reactions across the Middle East. Israel eagerly accepted the deal, which calls Jerusalem its undivided eternal capital and allows Israel to annex parts of the West Bank and Jordan Valley. The deal also calls for the creation of a Palestinian state with eastern Jerusalem as its capital, so long as Palestinian leaders renounce terrorism. The Palestinians rejected the plan, but surprisingly, Arab nations like Egypt and Saudi Arabia had positive reactions.
I've had conversations, as you know, with a lot of these folks. I sense this is a question they're really asking. Should we start moving towards full peace with Israel, even before the Palestinian issue is resolved, the way Egypt did in 1979, the way Jordan did in 1994?
All this takes place as Israel gears up for its third national elections on March 2nd in hopes of resolving a nearly year-long political deadlock. It's not magic and it's not science fiction. Israelis have figured out how to create drinking water out of thin air. The Israeli company WaterGen is helping underdeveloped communities around the world get the clean drinking water they need through this amazing technology.
With our revolutionary technology, we are extracting the water from the air with maximum efficiency. It's taking around 250 watt per liter. It's very, very cheap.
WaterGen recently won an award for its new home appliance, which provides about 8 gallons of water to a single home per day. The company sees its mission of bringing water to a thirsty world as part of Israel's commandment to be a light unto the nations. Israel is surrounded by enemies who wish to destroy it every day. In response, the Israel Defense Forces is developing breakthrough technology that could change warfare as we know it. It's a weapon you can't see or hear. The IDF is researching how to use lasers to intercept a variety of threats, from rockets to anti-tank missiles. Israel's Director of Defense Research and Development said, "We are entering a new age of energy and warfare in the air, land, and sea." The R&D investments made in the last years have placed the state of Israel among the leading countries in the field of high-energy laser systems. The IDF says it will test these laser systems throughout 2020. That's it for Inside Israel this week. For more stories just like this, you can watch our Jerusalem Dateline program every week. We'll see you next time.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices and watch God transform a generation.
Prophecy thousands of years old.
We were called to be a light to the world.
Being fulfilled today. Discover how. Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life. Just call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he has, which color he is. This is what I'm doing.
See how the people of Israel are fulfilling prophecy.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
By sharing their knowledge.
In Africa, in Asia, in South America, in East Europe.
And their love.
This is how we work. This is us.
Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
Welcome back. In our nation's capital today, hundreds gathered for a human trafficking summit. To combat the growing epidemic, the Trump administration is announcing a $42 million budget increase to combat the problem and is appointing an official in their domestic policy office to focus exclusively on human trafficking. Joining us now from our D.C. bureau is Jaco Boyens with the Falkirk Center. Jaco, you were at the White House today. What was the main goal or the purpose of the summit?
Mark, thank you for having me on. The main purpose was to form a coalition and for President Trump to sign an executive order targeting child sexual exploitation, which is a very big deal. It's the first time a sitting president of the United States has taken this kind of an initiative. And the initiative was launched by his daughter, Ivanka Trump. So it was a very well-attended event, but that was the critical focus, to put a target on child sexual exploitation.
What can you tell us about the president's new initiatives?
The new initiative has increased in budget, as you mentioned, but that's increased funding on top of funding that this administration has already increased over the last 3 years, right? With that, Attorney General Barr vowed full support from the Department of Justice. Vice President Pence vowed full support from the whole administration. And then they encouraged all the NGOs that were in attendance to continue to fight the fight and launch some new initiatives, particularly on end-to-end encryption, which now your online platforms such as Facebook, etc., are targeting and moving towards end-to-end encryption, which would make law enforcement very hard in protecting children online.
How big of a problem is human trafficking here in the U.S. and where is it seen the most, and has it gotten worse in recent years?
It has gotten worse because of the internet. You know, it's easy to blame the internet, but it's accessibility, right? It's a massive problem in our country. We are talking about American children sold for sex. Of course, there is a huge problem with international trafficking as well. It's a $150 billion industry worldwide, and it's a $30 billion industry in the United States. So it's a big problem.
Yeah, huge problem. So talk about, are there specific regions of the country where kids are more at risk?
Naturally speaking, you know, your runaway, your foster care child, or child in the CPS system is a high-risk child. But today, with profiling online, children in suburbia, in neighborhoods, are soft targets because their situational awareness is very low, right? They're not thinking that the problem is there, and we're finding it and literally mark every single zip code in the United States. And this is not a fear-mongering tactic. It's just a fact. We're rescuing children in every single zip code. Houston, Texas is currently now #1 city in the U.S. We're this weekend, we're going to have the Super Bowl in Miami. The Super Bowl is also known to be the Super Bowl of sex trafficking. So we had some members of Miami in that summit this morning who vowed that they're doing the best at their ability to combat this crime this weekend at the Super Bowl. But Houston, New York, Los Angeles, all your major hubs that has a lot of traffic through it also become major child sexual exploitation hubs.
And quickly, what kinds of efforts to fight human trafficking will be seen moving forward following Trump's announcements today?
You're going to see a new position in the White House focusing on this full-time, giving full access to intergovernment agencies starting to share information, which you may think would have happened in the past, but it hasn't, right? So now we're going to see bipartisan work, interagency support, sharing details on this issue and making America's children safe.
All right, Jaco Boyens of the Falkirk Center. Thank you, Jaco.
Thank you.
Still ahead, it's been a big week in the world of sports. We'll bring you the latest next.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5, Wednesday night at 9:30.
Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears.
Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com to get your copy today.
The San Francisco 49ers and Kansas City Chiefs face off Sunday in the Super Bowl. Our Ephraim Graham talked with CBN Sports Director Sean Brown about the biggest game of the year. But first, they talked about Kobe Bryant's wife's first public words since the accident that killed him, her daughter Gianna, and 7 others.
Before we get to all the excitement about the game, we have to talk about the tragic story that's really overshadowed the Super Bowl for many of us.
Yes.
And that is the death of Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, as well as 7 others in that helicopter crash on Sunday. What can you tell us about the latest on the investigation so far?
All we know is that I guess the investigation is ongoing right now. I mean, we've got all the identity of the families and whatnot, and of course the pilot and all of those things. So I guess the investigation is still going on as to what actually happened. All we know at this point is that it was very, very foggy and it was hard to see. Probably shouldn't have been flying in those conditions. But as time goes on, I guess the investigation will reveal what was actually happening, whether it was windy, whether it was malfunctioning, and those kinds of things. So as time goes on, we'll begin to find out what those are. But what's strange about this is that it just hit us so much. It hit us so hard. There I was sitting at the media center for the Super Bowl getting our credentials when all of the news came out. And of course, TMZ leaked the news or shared the news, and we didn't believe it at first.
Right.
Even some of the players and me talking to them once they arrived, they were arriving when they got the news. And we just didn't believe what was happening. And so we're all grieving, and it's going to go on for a while.
Yeah.
It's amazing. We were talking earlier about, it's strange, that we're all grieving. A lot of people obviously knew Kobe, but most of us didn't. And it's strange how, you never really know how someone affects your life or impacts your life until they're gone.
Yeah.
And my good friend, Dr. Barbara Shabazz, gave a term to it. She said it is called parasocial grieving. And because I had to ask myself, why is this impacting me so much?
Yeah, same here.
You see, people gathering, people crying for someone that we really didn't know personally. But we saw him grow, before our eyes.
Yeah.
And for me, it was the beginning of my very marriage. I know exactly, watching his career evolve,
Absolutely.
and it is just a sad thing for his wife and kids, and it is just a tragedy.
Yeah, real quick, she finally also spoke on social media. Many people following.
Such a courageous. I mean, to do it so early. Obviously, her and her daughters are still grieving. The family's still grieving. But she made a point to talk about, her adoring husband, Kobe, as she described. He's an amazing father to their children. And then she talked about beautiful, sweet Gianna, a loving, thoughtful, and wonderful daughter, an amazing sister to Natalia, Bianca, and Capri. Just a courageous woman. You see who she is. And I just prayers to the family as they continue to grieve through this.
Absolutely.
Just a courageous move on her part. So my prayers are with them.
Indeed, indeed. Want to switch gears right now. The Super Bowl should be an exciting game this weekend. What can we expect?
It should be exciting. We were doing Media Day, and the mood was a little off. It wasn't like normal Super Bowls. But these guys are, they're professionals. They're getting ready. They have to focus on what's coming up Sunday. And these guys are ready, man. I expect the Kansas City Chiefs to pull it out. But don't overlook the San Francisco 49ers defense. I talked to both of these teams, and they're ready, man. They are ready to go. It's going to be exciting. As I mentioned earlier in our previous talks, get your popcorn ready.
You got it.
This is going to be a game for the ages. That's what I believe. I do believe Kansas City is going to pull it out because of the weapons.
Okay.
But we will see.
All right. That's who my son's rooting for. We will be watching indeed. And we'll be back here Monday to talk about it.
For sure.
All right, thank you, guys. No matter the outcome this weekend, one Kansas City Chief already knows victory. Dan Mears has been entertaining Kansas City Chiefs fans for almost 30 years as the team mascot, the KC Wolf. One day during stunt practice, a terrifying fall actually left him with a broken back, tailbone, sacrum, and 7 ribs. He also had a collapsed lung and struggled to breathe. Mears thought he'd never perform again. Now his mission is not only to entertain football fans, but share his story and all that God has done since that day.
I tell people I still wake up with pain every morning. God reminds me I get to make a choice. When I get out of bed, I can choose to rise and shine, or I can choose to rise and whine. And I don't want to be a whiner. You see, whiners do not make a positive impact for Jesus Christ in this world. And, you know, as believers, we're called to get out and make a difference in our world and to shine the love of Christ everywhere we go.
That's wonderful to know who's underneath the wolf that you'll see this Sunday. Well, Mears is the longest performing mascot in professional sports and the first inducted into the Mascot Hall of Fame. And to hear his full story, just go to CBNNews.com. Coming up, a Colorado baker who came under fire for standing by his Christian beliefs. We'll tell you what he has in store now.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
From Washington, D.C., uncompromising stories, interviews, and analysis from veteran journalists David Brody.
Escalating fight.
Jenna Browder.
Chose his words carefully.
Ben Kennedy.
Plan to join him.
And Amber Strong.
For impeachment grows a little bit louder.
Bringing you the political news that matters.
We get out and tell the story of the progress that we're making in this country.
Watch Faith Nation, weeknights at 6 on the CBN News Channel.
We will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
As the nations rage, you can stand with Israel.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
Call 1-800-700-7000 and get to life.
This is our nature as a country.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religion he have, which color he is, this is what I'm doing.
Support Israel in their time of need. Get to Life, now available on DVD. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
And I wish that other people throughout the world could see this side of Israel.
Jack Phillips drew national attention in 2012 after he refused to bake a wedding cake for a homosexual couple. Now he'll be sharing his story in a memoir. Citing his religious beliefs, Phillips then spent years fighting a lawsuit after the couple filed a complaint with the state Civil Rights Commission. The commission ruled that Phillips should not have refused service. His case made it all the way to the Supreme Court, and his story in his new memoir is set to be released this summer by the Christian publisher Salem Books. That's going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Have a great day.